Hey everybody, Dr. Sheena Howard here, founder of Power Your Research, an academic branding company where I help academics and educators increase their visibility, authority, and income without the expense of a publicist. And one of the things that I see with my academics who want to build a brand or who want to sell products and services in the online space and use social media as a platform from which they want to build, I see a lot of people who do not know what to post, do not know how to create engaging content. And one of the things that I want you to try is using actual storytelling as your social media strategy. When someone lands on your Instagram page, your Twitter page, or whatever platform you are using, essentially what they want is a good story. They want to be entertained, they want to go along with you on the journey. And if they look at your most recent posts and it doesn't tell a compelling story that has value for them, they will either not follow you or over time they will unfollow you. So people want a good story. You need to know what to post to keep people engaged, entertained, and educated based on your area of expertise. And you need your content to connect emotionally with your audience. And all good stories do this. It's the reason why you like your favorite movie or book. The journey is worth it for you. And so when someone comes to your page, you want the journey to be worth it for them. It's the reason why they will continue to follow you. Now, I am going to take the time here to break down the hero's journey and how you can create content over the next 3 weeks that meets the criteria that I just discussed. It lets people know who you are, it's emotionally compelling, and it takes people on a journey. And so I am going to share my screen in a second so that I can write this down for you. Let me see if I can get this right for you. And I want you to be able to see me as well. There you go. That might work. It's probably less important to see me and more important for me to have more screen. So, the hero's journey in a story can be broken down into three parts. And those three parts, as you probably know, are Act One, Act Two, and Act Three. And so look at these three acts as your next 3 weeks of content. And we're going to take you through the hero's journey. So, Act One is all about the main character's life, the main character's ordinary, everyday life. And so, the things that you can be posting in this first week are some behind the scenes. Maybe I take pictures of how I set up my space. Or if you want to do a linear history of your product or service, you may talk about your ordinary life before you created your product or service. So for me, my company is Power Your Research. I teach academic branding. I have built a brand and monetized it successfully. But I might talk about 10, 15 years prior what I was doing and what I was struggling with and what life was like before I had a brand. So I was fresh out of a PhD program and I was frustrated that my work was just sitting behind an academic paywall. That was ordinary life for me a little over 10 years ago, and that was frustrating for me. So I might post pieces of content for the first week in this Act One about what life was like then. And I will connect with my audience by telling them, hey, a little over 10 years ago, nobody knew my work. Academe told me that nobody would care about my comics dissertation. Everybody was confused. And this will emotionally connect with your audience because the audience likes a good story. They like to see the before and after of someone's life. Everybody likes an underdog because they want to root for you. So in this first act, those are some pieces of content that I might create. The first act also a lot of times has the hero's refusal to do something. Think about your favorite superhero. A lot of their story arc at the beginning is them finding reasons not to want to be the hero. We learn about their fears, what they're scared of. So in this act, you might talk about some of your fears, and this will definitely emotionally connect to your audience because the fears that I had over 10 years ago, thinking about getting out there and building my brand, are the fears that some of my audience currently has. So I'll be able to connect with them by sharing my journey and the history of my journey. Or in this first act, if you don't want to do it historically in the examples that I just gave, you just might share BTS. Like I already mentioned, BTS is behind the scenes. So again, I might take pictures of my setup, the mic that I have, the ring light that I have. I might take pictures of my setup from last year because my setup from last year looks different than my setup today because I've added new technology to make my videos better. So spend 1 week, your first week, doing content around Act One, who you are, the backstory, how life was before you created your product or service, how you were hesitant to do X, Y, and Z, and some behind the scenes content. And then Act Two of the hero's journey. So in our example, this is going to be week 2. And I'll write it down here. This is week 1 of your content. This might be week 2 of your content. And then we'll get to week 3. So in the second act of a story, what happens to the hero? Well, the hero gets tested. The hero picks up some allies. The hero picks up some enemies, right? There's a lot going on in Act Two. The hero experiences a crisis moment. And so, this is an opportunity for you to really connect with your audience because you can reflect the emotions of the audience. When you are trying to market yourself, your goods, your services, you need to understand the psychographics of your audience, not necessarily the demographics. The demographics a lot of times will self-select to decide if your thing is for them. But your psychographics that you know about your audience is what is really going to connect. So for example, I know that my Power Your Research audience is professors. I market to tenured professors. And I know that associate professors with tenure are the most unhappy people in higher ed. And I also know the reasons behind that. So in week 2 of my content, if I'm doing this 3-week strategy, I may talk about how I was tested when I was an associate professor with tenure because I know that's going to connect with the audience. I'll reflect on what I was feeling, what I was doing, where my brand was at when I was an associate professor with tenure. I may do content around some of my allies, some friends that I picked up. I may even talk about the importance of having allies and building community when you want to do something that higher ed deems not intellectual enough. So in the higher ed space, colleagues will be quick to tell you that if you're on TV, if you're doing what I'm doing, essentially building a brand, that your research might not be that good. Your work might not be that good. So I may talk about all of those things in week 2 to reflect the psychographics of my audience. Talk about enemies. And an enemy doesn't have to be a person. It could be your own internal dialogue. It could be your limiting beliefs that you share and are vulnerable with the audience so that they can connect to you. And talking about a crisis moment that you've experienced that your audience will connect to because they likely will experience it or have already experienced it will allow you to connect beautifully with your audience. Our hero in our favorite stories is always tested, always has a crisis moment. That is typically the climax of the story. And so moving on to Act 3, which would be week 3 in this creative content strategy that I'm sharing with you, your week 3 content is going to be all about being the hero. This is where you're going to talk about your solution. So maybe you have a product or a program. Talk to the audience about how your solution can help them. If you post 2 to 3 posts a day for 1 week about how your thing can help your people, I promise you, people will be paying attention. People will begin to engage with you. Essentially, your solution is the hero moment for your particular audience. And here you want to talk about how your product or service has changed you. How has it changed you? The reason why I can talk so confidently and be so assured about my Power Your Research program is because the program and the journey I went on has truly changed me, and it has changed my life. And so I am a product of the thing that I serve to people, as well as the social proof that I have from lots of other clients. So in here, this is where you want to post the social proof. This is your hero week. This is your hero moment. Okay. So essentially, your social media strategy is telling a story that people can connect with, engage with, and really be invested in the thing that you have to offer. You're going to be talking about your trials and tribulations, not just how great you are and how great your thing is, but your crisis moments, what life was like before, what life is like today. So if you're struggling with what to post, hopefully this helps. Try this out for the next 3 weeks and let me know how it goes. Again, my name is Dr. Sheena Howard. I'm the founder of Power Your Research, an academic branding company where I help academics increase their visibility, authority, and income without the expense of a publicist. I hope this helps y'all.